doing nothing actually brings better decisions. Welcome to the Property Mindset podcast, where I'm Emma Howitt, mentor, investor, and your guide to building wealth, freedom, and personal transformation through property. Property isn't just about bricks and mortar, it's about building a life that you truly desire. In this space, we also don't just talk about strategy, we actually deep dive into mindset. And something that I found is often missing in other industries, but has been an absolute game changer for me in the professional property circles. So today, I think this one's slightly different. We are talking about 5 ways doing nothing can supercharge your property results. So if you are in property, I mean, if you're anything like me, you have that nagging feeling that you should always be doing something: more viewings, more content, more networking, more spreadsheets. And you sit down to have a cup of tea, and perhaps you've left the phone somewhere else and you've lost it for a minute, and the guilt starts. I should be working. So in this episode, I really want to flip that story. I want to show you how actually doing nothing is not laziness. It is actually a really powerful performance tool that can actually sharpen your decisions and protect you from bad deals and really keep you in the game long term. So let's turn dreams into actions and actions into success. So, what are these 5 benefits then? So, the number one benefit is actually doing nothing brings better decisions. Now, that might seem really crazy, but it really is an opportunity to improve your decision making. When we are constantly go, 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 scrolling through Rightmove, answering tenant messages, checking news headlines about rates, family, whatever it is that is pulling you in all directions, this can bring massive overload for our brains. And it's a lot about, we make so many decisions in a day. And that's why you have people who really cut back on what they do in a daytime. So Steve Jobs, he wore the same clothes each day to help him reduce this kind of massive overload that happens on our brains. Benefit one is doing nothing actually brings better decisions. Now, this might seem really crazy, but actually doing nothing can absolutely supercharge your property results by making you make better decisions, because we are constantly doing so much. So whether it's scrolling through Rightmove, answering tenant messages, reading headlines, our brains are overloaded. We make so many decisions, and there is something called decision fatigue. And Steve Jobs, he actually wore the same clothes each day. So he didn't have to get up and think, oh, what can I wear now? It was another way of reducing that brain overload. And often we think, oh, I just got to push a bit harder. I've got to do one more spreadsheet to make sure everything's okay. I've got to do another viewing to really make sure I saw everything. I'm going to go networking, ask for somebody's opinion. But often, one really great way to help you with that decision making, I'm not saying it's the only way, is to actually stop and give your mind some space. It's not always about more information. You obviously need to have enough information, but sometimes we need that more space so that information can really land. We can think through it in our head. So when I say doing nothing, I don't mean all day. So sit down, even if it's kind of 10, 15 minutes, sit quietly, no phones, lock it in a drawer somewhere. Even going on a walk, a slow walk, could be staring out the window. Remember how at school you were told off for staring out the window, but it's such a great thing to do. And it actually gives you a chance to connect with your subconscious and almost kind of like connecting the dots. And it allows all of those things such as risk, cash flow, time, energy, your goals to really circulate in your mind. And actually, you might have a sudden revelation. It might be, well, you know what? That actually really doesn't fit my strategy. I just thought it seemed like a good deal and I was going to jump on it, but it's nothing to do with what I'm doing or where I want to go. It may be, oh, I'm scared of this. I'm only chasing this because I'm scared of missing out. So it's so key to just give your brain, your mind, a chance to percolate all of those things. Um, there's also a line that I love from the world of stillness. Within you, there is a quiet place you can return to at any time. When you tap into that, your decisions come from clarity, not panic. That's really beautiful. Another book that I think is great as well, Stillness is the Key, and that's by Ryan Holiday. And it really talks about how stillness is actually not a luxury, but it's actually a core ingredient of wise decision making, and especially around self discipline. We're going to go into that a bit later. It's a really great read. I highly recommend, and it helps you understand why pausing can make you more effective, actually, not less. So, benefit number two, doing nothing can help you spot red flags. So, quite often, when we're so caught up in the humdrum and the busyness and the running and achieving and certainly for me, and I know for a lot of you, you're not just doing property. You've got a family, you've got partners, you've got family. You may have a second business, you may have a day job. And if we're moving that quickly, we can sometimes miss or those red flags. And these, let's be fair, in property can be expensive mistakes. So it can really come from what we don't know, but equally we do not want to ignore those red flags. And what is a red flag? So it might be like that uneasy feeling about a JV partner. It might be a builder that just keeps moving those goalposts. It might be the deal that only stacks with unrealistic, optimistic numbers. We've got to be sensible. And when you're constantly rushing, you can actually override your own intuition, and that is not a great place to be. So taking that pause button to do something, to do nothing before you sign, before you agree, before you send money, can give you that space just to listen briefly to your quiet inner voice so that you can listen to it if it speaks up. You may even notice like a tension in your body when you think about a deal. And it might be, you might start thinking, oh, why am I having to actually convince myself really hard that this is a good idea? If you're having those kind of thoughts, it's maybe worth going back and, getting more information or really thinking, is this for me? It's good to ask a question in that still moment. If I wasn't scared of missing out, would I still do this? Or other sort of questions around that. And a question like that alone, in a minute of stillness, can actually save you thousands of pounds and months of stress. And I think I know for me, I am not great at listening to my intuition. And I have jumped feet first into things. I've had, really sad JV partnerships that have just fallen apart and friendships lost. And in fact, recently I was speaking to just such a lovely person. In my olden days, I would have gone, yeah, I really want to work with you. It's really fantastic. But this time I was kind of like, you know what? We don't know each other yet. Let's just let this grow. There's no need to jump on it. And I think these are key things to listen to. And there's a saying that I like around this kind of context. It says, sometimes you need to slow down long enough to hear what your instincts have been trying to tell you all along. I'm going to repeat that because this is one that I really need to work on. Sometimes you need to slow down long enough to hear what your instincts have been telling you all along. Benefit number three. I love this one. Doing nothing recharges your creativity and problem solving. And I love problem solving. It's kind of one of my huge loves in life. By doing nothing, you can actually supercharge your results because it gives you more ideas of how to do things, how to solve problems. Because let's be fair, we're battling with problems every single day. And often your best ideas, how many of your best ideas arrived when you've been in the bath or out on a lovely walk? And it's rarely you get those hunches when you're over your laptop at 11 p.m. at night, trying to force yourself to figure it out. It's driving, it's staring out of the window. In other words, it's literally when you are doing nothing. If any of you got kids, how many of you have heard them say, "Oh, I'm bored, I'm bored." I don't know what your responses is, but my response is always like, "Fantastic." Boredom is so great for creativity. And I think we've kind of been grown up to say that boredom and stillness are kind of an enemy, but they're not an enemy. It literally is the birthplace of original thinking. And if we can stop bombarding our brains with just inputs from everywhere, it can start quietly connecting the dots, basically. And you might suddenly see a different exit strategy for a deal. You might be able to see a simpler way to systemize tenant communication. There might be, maybe a creative angle to work with an agent or an investor. Is there a new type of email that you can send? And I think when you look at the things that really successful people do, these high performers deliberately schedule thinking time. I mean, this is was kind of a crazy thing when I started getting into this kind of mindset stuff and ways that successful people behave. I mean, putting into your diary to sit and do nothing, that just sounded crackers. But actually I saw a thing on Stephen Green. He's a property investor and mentor and very successful. And he did Rich House Poor House. And it showed him with a really old battered chair in his gymnasium, and he would sit there for half an hour a day, just literally staring out the window. And this is what successful people do. It enables you to just think, to really gain clarity. Obviously, no phones, no distractions, just literally a place that's quiet, not the kids running in, although I'm not sure I'd ever manage that. Um, and it's definitely not wasted time. You've got to kind of consider it as like leadership time. And a great book for this, again, is Stillness is Key. It's really good for understanding this, you know, how you can, by doing nothing, fuel creativity. It's certainly not killing productivity. So, the fourth benefit of doing nothing is it can train your focus. Now, this was completely new to me until a few years ago when I was working in the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Bob Proctor, I absolutely love him. And he talks about how by doing nothing, you can train your focus. Well, that just seems completely opposite, doesn't it? But focusing on one thing is one of your biggest assets. I mean, who sat there? I mean, I have to battle with this each day. You open up your laptop and let's say that you were going to write an email. So you open up your laptop and you open up your emails and then suddenly you see there's 15 other emails. And do you jump onto those emails? And then it may be that you open that email and suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't respond to that person in WhatsApp. And so you then open WhatsApp and then suddenly, oh, your friend's there. Oh, and somebody's had a birthday. And then you might find a gift to send them. And then you might open, for whatever reason, oh, I better write something on their Facebook. Then you open Facebook and oh my goodness, then, an hour later, you still haven't written that email. So focus is something that a lot of us really have to work on. And what Bob Proctor would recommend is you sit on a chair, preferably in a quiet place. But if you have craziness around you, again, give yourself however long, but you sit in a chair and pick a dot, you might even want to make the dot yourself, or a single point on a wall. Or if you don't have that, you can light a candle and just concentrate on the flame. Set a timer just for a few minutes to start with, because this is quite a challenging task to do. And in that time, your only job, so to speak, is to reset, is to literally rest your attention on that one point. So on that dot or on that candle flame. And don't try and battle with yourself. It's not like you're having no thoughts at all. You are just noticing when your mind wanders, and you just gently bring it back to the dot, bring it back to the candle light, and you just keep training and training yourself. And you'll start off with like 30 seconds, maybe not even that, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and you just build that up until you can look at that for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it will make such a difference to you. Well, you're there going, well, how on earth is that going to make a difference for me in my property journey? And it's very much, if you can train yourself to focus on one thing, you can focus on everything. Okay. And if you add in at the you can focus on everything that matters. That's going to make a massive difference to your journey. Like we just spoke about, it can take you an hour to write a 2-minute email. I mean, that's just crackers. We've really got to learn to focus on our journey. And by building this kind of focus muscle, we can stay with the spreadsheet for longer. I mean, used to just be terrible. If I couldn't do something around sort of maths and numbers, I'd just give up like instantly. Oh, can't do it. Can't do it. I had this thing. I can't do it. Can't do it. But that's not very productive, is it? So it's being able to stay with something for long enough to actually enable your brain to absorb it and to be able to understand it. It might be reading through a legal document without glazing over. That's another one of mine. If you send me a really long email, I've just switched off. I like to like boom, boom. I like bullet points so I can just quickly see. If you're ready to take your property journey to the next level, check out my Property Success Mindset Formula. It's a course on Udemy, and inside you'll discover actionable strategies and exercises designed to shift your thinking, boost your confidence, and help you navigate property challenges with clarity. Whether you're just starting out or looking to break through to a new level, this course delivers the mindset tools professional investors use every day. Visit the link in the show notes to unlock your property potential. Your biggest asset is not just your portfolio, but the way you think. But, other people would really like that kind of detail. It may also be staying present in a conversation. Have you ever had have you ever had a conversation where you just know the other person wants to answer before you've even finished what you're saying? And that's quite frustrating. So stay present in a conversation, whether it's with an agent, an investor, instead of doing that kind of mental jumping ahead. It's so important for people to feel listened to. We have got two ears, one mouth. Use them appropriately in that way. Another concept that I love by Gary Keller is The One Thing. This is a great book. And it's all about extraordinary results are really directly determined by how you can like narrow your focus. And if you can learn to give this full attention to one thing at a time, you absolutely will stop leaking energy, time, effort everywhere else. And we know it. I'm sure there are some people out there who are like, oh no, that's not me. But, just really think about it. When was the last time you went to do something and then 2 hours later you're like, oh, I didn't do that? Like, even just chores at home. Did you start emptying the dishwasher and then your child calls you away? Have you ever done I've done a couple of things. I've literally on a journey, my biggest is I went wrong 4 times. I was trying to collect my child and I was so busy thinking of other things that I went wrong 4 times. I mean, this is just crackers. That's how lacking in focus I was. I am building that muscle. It still needs a lot of work. But for me, again, this is a big one. In fact, all of them are big. So it's not again about doing nothing practice. It's literally about you in a chair looking at a dot or a candlelight, and it's massively good for you. And you could call it focus training in disguise. So good for you. And then finally, benefit number 5 is doing nothing can calm your nervous system. I'm going to talk about sort of meditation and breath work as well. So it's not, you don't have to do meditation and breath work to calm your nervous system, but it certainly helps. And it can really help with your changing those property results. Have you ever kind of woken up in the night with that awful knot in your stomach and you're like, "Ooh," you're worried about a deal, you're worried about this, and decisions made from fear and exhaustion are never going to be great. So if you're never going to slow down, your body basically, I mean, we get so much more knowledgeable about this now, but you're always going to live in a kind of low levels of fight or flight. And that is not great from a health perspective, but it can make us kind of jumpy, reactive, more easily overwhelmed. And really, from a place like that, it may be tempting to kind of panic buy, panic sell, pay a bit over the odds just to get the deal done. You might say yes to things that you don't have capacity for. I mean, no is such an important word and it doesn't need to be offensive. It's really key. And actually, I find no quite challenging. But when you do it with love and with understanding that this is the best for them and you, no is a really empowering word. I'm remembering that. um, you might snap at your family, tenants, trades through that kind of, sheer nervous reactions that's happening within you. So, how can we kind of work on that? Because, in that moment, how challenging is it? It's really challenging. So, there's things like meditation and basic breath work that is really hitting a reset button. So, obviously, meditation has its time. I probably wouldn't do this if you're feeling a bit ratty with a builder in a project. This might be something that you do in the morning, maybe if you're, in your car for 5 minutes or again in the evening, is to, take that kind of meditation. It's really sitting quietly. I mean, you can listen. There's so many things on YouTube now where you can have meditation for, I don't know, better finances, have meditation for better relationships, whatever you want. You can listen to it, or you can just sit quietly and notice your breath. It's kinda called mental hygiene, isn't it? Just like you wouldn't leave a property uncleaned for a tenant to move in, meditation is really a way of cleaning that mental clutter, taking away that difference between all the noise and demand that you have in your life. So that's meditation, and obviously you can go off and that's a huge thing that you can do. And then the second one is breath work, and I think you really can fit breath work into your day. So let's say you are having a challenging conversation with a tenant, you're having a challenging conversation with a builder, and it is not going well. You might, it's valid to say, I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable about this for a moment. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to go for a 5-minute walk. I'm going to come back and we'll talk a bit later. And you can literally go outside, find somewhere to sit or lean against a tree, whatever it is. Close your eyes or, if you need to just soften your gaze. And there's lots of different ways that you can do breath work, but generally it's in inhaling through your nose, holding, and then exhaling through your mouth. So my mindset coach, he talks about inhaling for 3, holding for 3, and exhaling through your mouth for 3, and then doing that for 4, and then doing that for 5. And then excuse me, being in a place where you can think through what's been happening. And then if you want to, you can then reverse it and Inhale through your nose for 5, hold for 5, exhale through your mouth for 5, then do it for 4, and then do it for 3. Um, and obviously, you can repeat this. And this kind of breathing very quickly helps your body switch from this fight or flight into rest and digest. So you're literally sort of basically telling your nervous system, you're actually safe. So it's very, very powerful. And the author James Nestor, in his book Breath, he talks about how small changes in our breathing can actually really dramatically impact our health, our energy, and your calmness. It's actually a powerful reminder that your breath is actually a tool that you can carry with you, whether it's to a viewing, a meeting, stressful phone calls. It's, really use it as something that can help you, because when your nervous system is calmer, your decisions are calmer. You're less likely to perhaps overreact, overpromise, overcommit, and be more realistic. So that's the 5 benefits, but I'm going to add in an extra bonus benefit. And that is doing nothing helps you remember your why. I think this is, a subtle benefit, but it can really, by sitting doing nothing, can help you reconnect to why you're in property in the first place. And this is something that when I talk to my mentees, this is the first thing we talk about. What is your why? Why are you doing this? Because we need a massive why, because things will always go wrong. There's always going to be challenges. And if the why isn't big enough, we'll just say, oh, I don't really need to, excuse me, leave my job. I'm just going to stick with my job. I'm going to leave this property stuff. And we give up quickly. Whereas if we've got a massive why, you're really desperate to do something, it keeps us going. It kind of fuels us. So when, again, we talk about filling every minute with something, property can actually feel like just this endless to-do list. There's rent due, the boiler's broken, solicitors chasing, you got numbers, you got more numbers, and you can definitely lose sight of why you wanted to do it. And just again, by sitting in that chair, having that stillness, looking at that dot, or simply breathing, can create space for perhaps those deeper questions. What do I actually want my life to look like 5 years from now? And these are great for visioning, and really don't just think don't just think about it, feel it, because that's most important. You might ask, is the way I'm doing property right now serving my vision, or is it actually fighting it? You might think, well, if I actually slowed down by just 5%, would I do things differently? And think it's key. I don't compare, but I really love. I've got a new sort of friend, and they're just so much calmer than my life. Their life is very slow. I mean, they do things at just a completely different pace to us. And I was talking to my daughter about it, and I was saying, there's nothing wrong necessarily with the way we do it, and there's nothing wrong with the way they do it. But what is really useful is to see what the benefits are of both. Like, I could never run at their level of life, and equally, they could never run at ours. But actually, could I slow down a bit and gain more out of life? Absolutely. And could they maybe speed up a bit? I don't know. That's not for me to judge. Everyone must do their own thing, but I definitely could slow down a bit. And I think when you realize that if you're carrying perhaps property strategies, partnerships, or habits that no longer fit you, that realization from just having that moment, taking stock in that quiet time, you can actually start to choose more deliberately. So, what are some practical challenges for you? So, if you think this is something that you should really implement into your life, what are the things that you might want to take action on this week? So yeah, think about finding a chair and looking at a dot on the wall or a candle Just start just for a few minutes, just say, right, I'm not going to sit there for more than 3 to 5 minutes, but I'm really going to fixate and notice how your attention drifts and just bring it back. Just gently bring it back. You're not forcing yourself not to think, but just bring it back. Second, perhaps you want to just take that micro pause before making a decision, before you say yes to a deal, before you make a major spend, just take a couple of moments, a few minutes of stillness. Again, turn that phone off, no talking, and ask, if I wasn't scared of missing out, would I still do this? Three, breath breaks. These are so key, and it's something that I've added in recently, and I think it's making a big difference. Once or twice a day, or whenever you feel, your nervous system reacting, and you can tell, can't you? Just start breathing in through the mouth, holding it, and then breathing out through. Sorry, breathing in through the nose, holding it, and then breathing out through the mouth, and just feel how your body is after that. And then finally, are you going to block your calendar out? Are you going to be one of those successful people who block out the calendar and 15 to 30 minutes have a nothing? No podcast, no learning, no planning. You just literally sit and stare. I mean, you can walk as well, stare out the window, whatever it takes, just to allow your brain to work through. And I really hope, guys, that you'll remember that this is not being unproductive during these sort of quiet moments. You're actually maintaining a real asset that runs your entire property business, and that's your mind and your nervous system. So it's so key. So just as a recap, remember today we explored 5 ways doing nothing can supercharge your property results. And one, it improves your decisions by giving your brain the space to process. Two, it helps you spot red flags before they could potentially, let's be fair, become expensive mistakes. Three, it can really boost your creativity. It can help you problem solve and bring fresh ideas. Four, it trains your focus through simple practices, um, like sitting in a chair and the candle exercise. And five, it can calm that nervous system. And you might use meditation and breath work so you can really move from clarity, not fear. And remember as well that the additional bonus is that it can hopefully help you focus on your why as well. So, as always, remember property success isn't just about what you do, it truly is about how you think and the state that you're in when you make decisions. So, when you combine a smart strategy with calm, focused, well rested mind, there's literally no limit to what you can build in the long term. So, do reflect on today's episode and consider what is that one thing or that one time you can do nothing. So, practice that. And when are you willing to do it this week? If this episode has helped you see that slowing down, creating stillness, and doing nothing can actually sharpen your decision and protect your energy, um, a great step is to look at how your deeper beliefs might be quietly running the show in your property journey. So I would go and listen to episode 32. It's the mindset shift, breaking free from property myths that limit you. And in this episode, I dive into the biggest myths that hold people back, like you need loads of money to start, you have to be a landlord, or properties just, never going to be for me. And it shows you how you can think differently so you can move forward with confidence. So that was episode 32. And of course, as always, if you know anyone who's struggling on their property journey, please do share this episode. It could be the game changer they need. And remember, the more people we help, the greater our own wealth in every sense of the word. Growing this community means growing the potential that we all have to succeed together. Let's turn dreams into actions and actions into success. So remember, your mindset is your greatest property. Keep building it.